My name is Anne Marie Burgoyne. I'm from San Francisco. I'm on the board of directors of Mission Continues. And how I got to know of Mission Continues is I'm lucky enough to work for a foundation that funds early stage nonprofits with a desire to grow aggressively. And we got to know Mission Continues over a year. We're very impressed with Eric and his leadership. Very, very impressed with his team and their depth of knowledge about service and the deep caring and compassion they had for veterans. And we also very much believed in their mission to do many, many fellowships to help injured veterans around the U.S. and their belief that creating a movement around service and using service as a means of reintegrating veterans into their communities was important. And that's why we got involved in as a foundation, and then I was lucky enough to get to join their board. I think it's socially innovative on a couple different levels. I think in one level, it's taking movement building, which for me is the idea of using interpersonal relationships as well as social media and digital relationships to share an idea with people that's important. And much as I've been exposed to a number of veterans organizations, when I did my research to make this grant, I'd not really found very many that focused on movement building. Many of them provided fairly simple, discrete services for veterans, which were important, but weren't changing the systems in which the veterans resided and weren't changing ideas about the potential of veterans to be part of their communities in a really important and profound way. So I think that's one area that's different. I think another area that's different is the way that Mission Continues is using and finding people to support their mission. So there's a core team of paid staff that's very impressive, high energy, very committed to their work. But the way that Mission Continues has found volunteers in many communities around the U.S., particularly those that have large concentrations of veterans, I think is very impressive and exciting. And by carving out roles that are big and audacious, you are going to find fellows in your community who can use service to recommit to their lives and their community is very powerful. You're going to find groups of veterans that want to volunteer in their community and make that happen. Those are definable enough that a volunteer can say, I can do that, but they're big and audacious enough that someone has to put a lot of time and commitment into that work to make it happen. And so for me, those are two fairly important, distinctive elements of Mission Continues. I feel like when I come to a team, I'm cognizant enough that I'm knowledgeable about nonprofits and ways in which they grow and scale, but in terms of content, I often know very little. And I would say that is true in this instance. I've just sat in my first board meeting for Mission Continues, and they use lots of acronyms I've never heard, and so I don't purport to be an expert in most things Mission Continues. But if I were to think about what vision I think could be important from the lens that I know, I would say that continuing to find capable fellows to fund in a variety of places in the United States whose faces look very different from one another and whose experiences are very different would be very powerful. The life changes they would experience, the stories they would tell in their communities that would give other people courage or would make someone say, I want to help to give someone else a challenge and an opportunity in this community, that I think is really important. The other thing I think is very, very much within the realm of Mission Continues' ability to exceed in and succeed in is building a social network of people that understand what the experiences are of today's veterans, whether they're injured or not, whether they have served in a situation which was incredibly complex and dangerous or not. But I feel as a community and as a country, this is my perception, that how we thought about veterans 40 or 50 years ago and how we valued them is quite different than how we perceive them and value them today. And so if we could find the path to give my peers, my children, the skills and the knowledge and the exposure to understand this group of people who's clearly served our country with such pride and loyalty, that same opportunity, I think that would be the other piece that to me would be living out of the mission. As a person who spends a lot of time with nonprofits, I think both the word charity as a concept has really bypassed its usefulness. Charity just has so many bad ramifications, and it's about seeing people in a hierarchy. It's about power and imbalance of power. It really has a lot of problematic connotations, I think. I do think there's something very important about giving and feeling good about giving and recognizing that different people at different points in their lives have disparate needs, and we all should be respectful of that and find ways to reach out to people who have disparate needs. So I don't want to at all take away from that, but I do think the word charity has really been crushed by the own history of its existence. What I like about Mission Continues is I think this is about challenge. And as you said, it's a challenge to everyone. It's a challenge in probably the most obvious way to our veterans who have been injured, to give them an opportunity to come back into the mainstream of their community in a way that's stepping forward, not stepping sideways. Or at least that's how I see it. But I think to make that believably work, that's a challenge to everyone. That's about asking what in our community would be strengthened if new people came to do this work or this activity in a new way. What can I do to be more a part of the community of all the people in my community? And so I think it is quite interesting, because I think there's a dawning of social awareness that's quite different for the last few generations of Americans. And it is much more about joining together as a community to make change. And then a piece of that is making sure that everyone feels they're part of the community that makes the change. And to me, Mission Continues is really holding the standard of what that means, not only for a group of people to be part of that change, but then for that whole community to say, how do we do this together?